past this. That is not a normal transit.
And you would know.
Okay, it's Friday, so that means it's time for the Expanse. As always, I'm Al, this is the Geek in Review, and I'm going to be talking about the Expanse Season 6, Episode 2, Azura Dragon. So if you haven't seen it, this will contain spoilers. Now, we're opening again pretty similar to the way we had it last week on Laconia, so I think they're maybe going to tease in this storyline throughout the episode, as it is a pretty huge part of the last few books, the planet Laconia, and what's going on there. And speaking of which, we do learn a tiny little bit, not too much. One of the interesting facts that they mention, and I can't believe this hasn't occurred to me, and I can't believe I've not really seen it in sci-fi before, is that humans can't grow crops on this planet. It's that alien that they can't ingest anything that's there, so they need to bring their own food. And I thought that was really quite clever, because obviously on a ship you can kind of grow plants and things, but once you get to a planet you think you'd be able to do that. And I thought the fact that they weren't able to, and that there's still going to be some sort of dependency on technology rather than nature, was very interesting. But it does look as if they're sinking the Strange Dogs novella into the current season, so I think little flashes of this are going to appear in every episode, but we're not going to get too much of a reveal with what's going on the planet, or too much of a setup, because at the end of the day, sadly, it is the final season. But back on the other side of the ring, the Rossi's being resupplied and they get Bobby on board. So she's finally back with the crew, even though they're all still looking really run down. And I do wonder when are these guys going to get a break, because I said it in the last episode that everyone here is just on their sort of last straw and ready for sort of emotional or physical or both type of collapses. They've been going at it for 6 or 7 months, and they've not made, well, not that they've not made much progress, but the Earth side hasn't made much progress against the Free Navy. But Bobby's back on board because she's got intel on the spotter ship that they're looking for, and Avasarala wants it captured, not destroyed, as some sort of, political trophy, and Holden kind of points out that doing that is a little bit more dangerous, but the benefit of any intelligence that they get on board seems to outweigh the risk. They say it in the episode, Earth needs a win. They can't just keep destroying rocks and then dealing with the consequences of that. But going back to the ring for a second, Holden is still investigating the missing ships, and it was mentioned at the end of the last season, and Bobby mentions it here, that people seem to know about ships that are going missing, but they don't really have any answer to it, or there's not really been any investigation. Bobby thinks that the Martian ships that have disappeared have just sort of went off and done their own thing and not went to Laconia. Or maybe they've joined the Free Navy, or the other way about, they've joined the Free Navy then went to Laconia. And I wonder how much they're going to explore this aspect in these episodes, because we've only got 4 left. We're a third of the way through the season, which is kind of sad but mind-blowing at the same time. But they do catch up with the spotter ship, which is the name of this episode. And we get some great space porn, as you would expect in The Expanse, but as well as that we also get some hidden character stuff that only this show can kind of deliver, and throw character development into the middle of a raging huge action sequence, because to take the ship they have to jump from the Rossi onto the side of the ship to knock it out with an EMP, and it's Naomi that's supposed to do it, but it seems that she's having some PTSD issues when she has to transfer between the Rossi and this ship. And it's actually Peaches or Clarissa that takes over. Actually, I thought that this might end the bad blood between them, but it could also make things worse, especially if Naomi feels powerless. You might think that Clarissa is trying to take her role on the ship. But she also saves Bobby as well, using her enhancements. So she has sort of got a bit of credit in the old bank when it comes to Ross and Auntie, and Holden isn't particularly happy that she does have trouble following orders. And when you think about it, yeah, I get that. She was a billionaire's baby. She was living off of her parents' money, and she had the best lifestyle on Earth. She was a daddy's girl type of thing. But I like how they're developing her character. I didn't know how she was going to fit in on the ship this season, but it seems so far so good. They are smoothing things out a lot more faster than I would have expected. But again, we've only got 4 episodes left. But once they do get on board the ship, it is worth it. They get a treasure trove of information, including all the asteroids that are headed to Earth, as well as the ones that they've got scheduled to launch as well. So effectively they're kind of ending Marco's reign of terror over the planet, and then they can go back out into space looking for him and settle a few scores. But I'll get to that in a minute. But back, or out in the belt I should say, Philip is locked up after the murder last week. And as soon as I seen this, I thought, come on, there's no point in this scene. It's not like his dad's ever not going to get him off, or not get him off, I should say. The governor of the station that Marcos ignored last week when he was talking about food supplies and grains doesn't want to let him go. But Marcos initially overrules her because he is the big dog in this part of the solar system and he's the one with all the power. There's no one there really to challenge him, but I think that's going to change. Because the fact that he's trying to overlook Philip's behaviour is beginning to make a few people question his actions. And he does tell Philip that he's not happy with him and he sees him as a bit of a failure and a letdown. And I think this opens Philip's eyes to what Marco's really like. He doesn't give a shit about the emotional well-being of his son as long as he toes the line and he just looks like a good belter. And Philip has definitely had his eyes open to this. I'm not sure it's meeting his mother or the actions that have happened or throwing the rocks at Earth, but everything has taken a toll on this guy. And the Philip that we have now isn't the Philip that was introduced in the last season. But although things might not be going that well for Philip, they are getting a marked improvement for Drummer and her gang. She's still dealing with the situation and trying to get a crew member off the ship. But things initially aren't looking that particularly bright for Drummer either. She's still stuck in the same situation last week with limited supplies, limited resources, and on the run from Marcos. But she does hook up with another ship, and we find out that not every belter is that keen on Marcos, and some are actually so much against him that they're kind of skimming from the top a little bit and taking a bit of money away from him as I suppose, sign of rebellion and taking whatever control they can to sort of, fuck this guy or fuck you, boss, as it were. And we do see cracks begin to appear because we've always thought that the belters, although they might be a bit disparate and a bit, not all on the same page, they did all want the same thing. And this is the first time that we're seeing that. Again, it's what I said in the last episode, it's careful what you wish for. The belt might have a lot more freedom, but they've now got a huge target on their back from everyone else in the solar system. So Drummer convinces this captain to do a little bit more than steal from Marcos, and she wants to set up an attack, so she's going on her own defensive to try and destabilise Marcos. The spotter ship captured, and the fact that the Earth and probably Mars are going to go back into the belt and settle some scores, and they're going to want control of that ring gate again. I think this guy's time is beginning to come to an end. We can see the cracks beginning to form, not only in people around him, but him himself. When we met him at the start of the first episode, he said that he was only, basically, he missed the glory. He was only after that. He's not interested in actually leading a state. He just wants to be seen as a figurehead. You can't really imagine this guy sitting down at a desk and talking about things like how to deal with issues with water or food or transportation or poverty or healthcare. That's just not who this guy is. So yeah, in the next few episodes we're going to see Marcos getting backed more into a corner, and I wonder how he's going to respond, because I think this is going to be a guy that goes out in a blaze of glory and isn't afraid to take a few people with him. But at the same time, if some of his most loyal followers turn against him, that could polarise a few people against him as well. And I think that the way the belt is going to get out of this is it's going to be belters that hand Marcos over to Earth, or it's going to be belters that deal with the OPA to sort of say, look, we know what these guys have done, we've dealt with them, you don't need to come after us and cause any more collateral damage. Even, man, that's a fucking hard word to say. I'm not going to focus on the Marcos thing too much, because it's just going to unravel. Again, there's only 4 episodes left, so I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. And because we are getting a bit more of a limited run this season, it does feel that things are a little bit more packed tightly, shall I say. The pace is flowing a little bit more quickly than I'd like, but again, I understand it. But the main difference that I'm noticing is we're not getting to spend as much time with every character. There was almost no Naomi this week at all. Amos has almost become his own back character to his backstory. and we're not getting any Christian really. She's not having any of the sort of sassiness that we've seen before. I know that she's had a very stressful few months. She's now back and being the leader of Earth and probably the worst point in its history. But even when this character was down, that's when she was most interesting. What we do get of her on this episode is she wants Monica to make a documentary about what's happening on Earth since the attacks. And I can understand why she doesn't want to do it. It would just be a propaganda piece, and she doesn't want to risk her credibility. But Christian points out that she only wants her to show the truth about what's going on the planet, so she's got nothing to lose. And I know we're on the second episode of this season, and despite the fact that I've complaining about the pace and a few things in this episode, the writing as ever is consistently stronger. It's just the lower episode run that's meaning that these guys have to cut this, because in terms of writing and CGI and space action, this show is pretty much unparalleled. There hasn't been a show that's been this strong since Game of Thrones round about season 4, and we all know how that ended. So while there wasn't any huge developments this week, I did really enjoy this episode, and I'm enjoying the sort of sense of Marco becoming a sort of dangered, cornered, ravenous animal when they do come from him. We're very interested to see what he's going to do to try and survive, and if he's going to throw people in the fire or try and sacrifice people or sell them out. Because once you strip this guy away, I think that's what he's going to be like. With the stuff on Laconia, I do hope we get to see it every episode. I think they'll probably tease a big reveal. I'm not going to say what that is yet, because I don't want to ruin anything if you haven't read the books or give anything too much away. But what happens on Laconia in the books in terms of the leaps they make in technology is absolutely amazing, and I would like to see that on screen, but I highly doubt we're going to get it this season. But let me know what you think of this episode in The Expanse in the comments below. Did you enjoy it, or are you enjoying the last season? If not, why not? Or you can follow me on Twitter at TheGeeksReviews. If you've made it this far, please leave a like on the video, and if you haven't done it already, subscribe to the channel. I'm posting a lot more content with a Hawkeye What I've Been Watching full review coming up next week, as well as some stuff on The Matrix, and even more Spider-Man stuff, and some videos on the theories of the MCU. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. I hope you've got a great weekend, and as always, thanks for watching.